this is Sean from the Girl in Betweenie blog, and today I want to talk about how to maintain your Temptu makeup airbrush system AirPods. I haven't found anything else on the web that does this, and it's been trial and error figuring it out as I've used the system. The first thing is a maintenance related issue with the system. After each use, you can see in this foundation pod that there is buildup of makeup from when you sprayed it. So it's very important after each use to be able to maintain your pod and not get them clogged, to clean this out. Now, Temptu, under every cap that they provide, gives you, it's taped in here, it's actually kind of difficult to see. It is a little poker and sponge. I will talk about the poker end in 1 second because that's also part of maintaining. This sponge piece is supposed to be used by putting it on top of the pin and twirling it around. And that is supposed to clean the system. As you can see, I still have quite a bit of makeup left in there. I find that this sponge does not work at all. It just really wipes the makeup around the pod. What works best for me is simply a pointed cotton Q-tip that you can get at CVS. You just take that Q-tip and just wipe it around the sides and the middle of the Temptu while avoiding the pin that is inside of it. If you do this after every use, your Temptu system should not clog. Before you actually use the foundation and spray it, you're supposed to always lift this little plug before you insert it into the actual system. That opens it up and lets the air flow in. This little poker side of the sponge is meant to, once you open the valve, you just stick it in the little hole, you pop it in, and you pull it out. You'll see I have a little bit of makeup on there, and that simply releases more air into the system, and it also unclogs anything that may have built up in there since your last use. If your AirPod becomes clogged, like this body camo pod came for me, there are some more extreme measures that you may have to take. The first thing I did was I made sure that the tip was as clean as possible, and it was. There was absolutely no makeup in there. I even put a little water on the Q-tip to make sure that I really got any kind of gunk that was in there out. The second thing that I did was lift up the valve and make sure that I used the poker tool and made sure that this was absolutely clear and that makeup was coming out on the tool, and it was. So my next step to unclog this, because nothing was coming out of it at all, was to pull up this clear lever up and down multiple times. This helps put airflow into the system. I actually do this before I use the pod every single time. If that does not work, the next step would be to take it in the palm of your hand, cup the Temptu pod in your hand, and pull this lever up and down multiple times. You're creating a suction in your hand when you do that. You'll see that by doing that, I released some makeup into where the air comes out into the tip here. So I would go back with my Q-tip and just clean that out. But that's a good sign. That means that the makeup is now moving in the system, and that may be all you have to do. If that doesn't work for you, the next step would be to insert your pod into the system like you normally do, turn the system on to the 3 o'clock mark, and I say this that you do not want this to be all the way up to where the plus sign is. If you do that, you will end up blowing these valves. Actually, they'll fly off of the system because it's too much air pressure. I learned this the hard way. You're going to turn your system on, and you're going to place the pod on the back of your hand, and you're going to feel it suction on your hand, and you're simply going to pull back the lever in a pattern such as that. You just kind of keep pulling back and forth until it unclogs. You may have to repeat step 2 and 3 multiple times. You may have to repeat the cupping, pulling it up and down, and repeat putting the air through it to unclog it. This thing was really, really clogged, and it ended up opening it up nicely for me. I will say that with this technique, you can see inside of this pod that I actually lost some makeup and made a little bit of a mess in here that I ended up getting on the inside of this, and I had to really kind of clean this out. So I did lose a little bit of makeup just as a warning with this technique, but it did unclog the pod. I find it a little bit annoying that these Temptu pods clog like this. I only didn't use this for maybe 3 weeks before it actually clogged up on me, and I lost a lot of makeup. So I plan on writing the company to see if they're going to do anything about it. I just wanted to provide you some tips and techniques on maintaining this. It may be a good idea, even if you're not planning on using, let's say, the body camo or a highlighter or something like that, that you just spray some air through it at least once a week to keep the pod in good shape. Thanks, and if you have any questions, please leave them on the blog.